The smell hit me first, fish sauce and something rotten wafting from our supposedly smart refrigerator at 3 in the morning. I'd been lying awake for hours, listening to Delia whisper into her phone in the bathroom, pretending I was asleep. Insurance adjusters develop a sixth sense for bullshit, and my wife was practically broadcasting it. "Matt's such an idiot," she was saying, voice barely audible through the door. "He actually thinks I'm talking to my mother." I slipped out of bed, bare feet silent on the hardwood floors of our overpriced suburban Maine home, the kind of place Delia insisted we needed to maintain our image in this gossipy little town that reminded me of something out of a Stephen King novel. All perfect lawns, hiding dark secrets. The kitchen was bathed in the blue glow of our smart home system. I'd installed cameras everywhere after a break-in scare last year. Ironic how they were about to serve a completely different purpose. I pulled up the app on my phone, scrolling back through the footage from earlier that evening. There it was. Delia, my wife of 12 years, pressed against the side of a black BMW in our driveway. The man kissing her wasn't me. He was taller, broader, wearing an expensive suit that probably cost more than my monthly salary. Cole Barrett. I recognized him from the real estate billboards plastered around town. "Your dream home awaits," with his $1,000,000 smile. "Son of a bitch," I whispered, screenshotting the footage. The bathroom door creaked open. I quickly closed the app, pretending to check the refrigerator's temperature settings. "Baby? What are you doing up?" Delia's voice was honey-sweet, the same tone she used with difficult clients at her Pilates studio. "Couldn't sleep. The fridge is making weird noises again." I turned to face her, studying the woman I'd married. Still beautiful at 38, all lean muscle and perfect posture from years of teaching yoga and Pilates. Her blonde hair was mussed from bed, but her green eyes were alert. Guilty. "Oh, that old thing. Maybe we should replace it." She moved closer, trailing her fingers along my arm. "Come back to bed. I'll help you relax." The manipulation was so obvious, it was almost insulting. "In a minute. Just want to make sure it's not going to die on us." She shrugged, padding back toward the bedroom. "Don't stay up too long. You have that big meeting with the Henderson claim tomorrow." The Henderson claim. Right. Like I gave a damn about flood damage assessments when my marriage was drowning. I waited until I heard the bedroom door close, then pulled out my phone again. Time to do what I did best, investigate. The next morning, I sat in my office at Granite State Insurance, surrounded by case files and coffee-stained paperwork. My colleague Rick Donnelly knocked on my doorframe, holding 2 cups of coffee. "You look like hell, Sullivan." Rick was ex-cop turned security consultant, the kind of guy who knew where all the bodies were buried in our little town, literally in some cases. "Thanks for the pep talk." I accepted the coffee gratefully. "Hey, hypothetically speaking, if someone wanted to track their spouse's movements, what would you recommend?" Rick raised an eyebrow. "Hypothetically? GPS tracker. Small magnetic battery, lasts about 2 weeks. Hypothetically costs about $50 on Amazon. And hypothetically, how would one go about upgrading their home security without their spouse knowing?" "Matt." Rick closed the door and sat down across from my desk. "What's going on?" I pulled out my phone, showing him the screenshot from the night before. Rick whistled low. "Damn, brother, that's Cole Barrett. Guy's got a reputation for this kind of thing. Married women are like his specialty." "What do you mean?" "Word around town is he's been through half the wives in the country club. Always targets the ones with money or successful husbands. Gets his kicks from the conquest, then moves on when things get complicated." My stomach churned. "How do you know all this?" "Ex-cop, remember? Plus, my sister works at the bank. She's seen the financial fallout from his previous affairs. Divorces, asset disputes, restraining orders. Guy's a predator." I stared at the photo on my phone. Delia's hands were tangled in Cole's hair, her body pressed against his like she couldn't get close enough. 12 years of marriage, and I'd never seen her look at me that way. "So what's the plan?" Rick asked. "I don't know yet, but I'm not going down without a fight." That evening, I installed the GPS tracker on Delia's car while she was inside teaching her advanced Pilates class. The studio was in the trendy part of town, all exposed brick and inspirational quotes painted on the walls. Through the window, I could see her adjusting clients' poses, smiling that perfect smile that had first attracted me in college. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "She's not worth it, man. Walk away while you still can." I stared at the message, then deleted it. Someone was watching me, but I didn't have time to figure out who. I had bigger problems. Back home, I upgraded our security system, adding motion sensors and changing all the access codes. If Delia was planning something, and the overheard phone conversation suggested she was, I wanted to be ready. The house felt different now, like a stage set for a play I didn't want to perform in. I made dinner, grilled chicken and vegetables, the same meal we'd shared hundreds of times before. But now, every bite tasted like betrayal. "How was your day?" Delia asked, cutting her chicken into precise, tiny pieces. "Fine. Boring insurance stuff. You?" "Good class tonight. That new client I told you about, the real estate guy? He's really committed to his practice." The lie came so easily, I almost admired her skill. "That's nice. What's his name again?" "Cole something. I don't really know him well." I nodded, chewing slowly. "Right. Cole something." After dinner, I retreated to my home office, ostensibly to work on claims reports. Instead, I dove deep into Cole Barrett's background. Public records, social media, business filings. The picture that emerged wasn't pretty. 3 previous relationships with married women, all ending in messy divorces. A pattern of financial entanglement. He'd somehow profit from each affair, whether through real estate deals or insider information. The man was a professional homewrecker. My phone chimed with a GPS alert. Delia's car was moving. According to the app, she was heading toward the expensive part of town where Cole lived. At 10:30 p.m., supposedly after her book club. I grabbed my keys and followed. The Barrett residence was a modern monstrosity of glass and steel, the kind of house that screamed, "I have money and want everyone to know it." Delia's silver Lexus was parked in the circular driveway next to Cole's BMW. I parked across the street and waited. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, I could see them moving around inside, drinking wine, laughing, touching each other with the casual intimacy of lovers who thought they were safe. At midnight, Delia emerged, hair disheveled, clothes wrinkled. She kissed Cole goodbye on the doorstep, a long, passionate kiss that made my chest tight with rage. I followed her home, staying far enough back to avoid detection. She pulled into our garage and crept into the house like a teenager sneaking in past curfew. By the time she slipped into bed beside me, I was pretending to sleep, my mind racing with plans. The next morning, I called in sick to work. After Delia left for the studio, I began my real investigation. I accessed our joint credit card statements, bank records, phone bills. The evidence was overwhelming. Hotel charges at the Marriott downtown. Expensive dinners at restaurants we'd never been to together. Venmo payments to someone named Madison Torres with cryptic messages like "Thanks for the cover story" and "You're the best alibi ever." Madison Torres. I looked her up. Social media manager, early 30s, worked with several local businesses including Delia's studio. Apparently, she was the one helping coordinate the affair, providing alibis and managing Delia's digital footprint to hide the evidence. But they'd made mistakes. Digital breadcrumbs that led me deeper into their web of deception. Text messages recovered from cloud backups. Photos accidentally saved to shared albums. A whole secret life I'd been blind to. The worst part wasn't the betrayal itself. It was the planning. This wasn't a moment of weakness or a midlife crisis. This was calculated, methodical, designed to maximize their pleasure while minimizing their risk. They turned my marriage into a game, and I was the unwitting loser. That ended today. I spent the weekend playing the perfect, oblivious husband while secretly building my case. Delia went through her normal routine, morning yoga, healthy breakfast, casual lies about her plans. She was meeting her book club again Sunday night, which according to the GPS tracker meant another rendezvous at Cole's Glass Palace. "What book are you reading this month?" I asked over coffee, genuinely curious how far she'd take the lie. "Oh, it's this boring romance novel. You wouldn't like it." She didn't even look up from her phone. "We mostly just drink wine and gossip anyway." "Sounds fun. Maybe I should start a book club. Get Rick and some of the guys together." "That's sweet, honey, but you hate reading." She was right. I did hate reading fiction. But I loved studying people, understanding their motivations, finding the flaws in their stories. It's what made me good at insurance investigation, and what was about to make me very dangerous as a husband. Monday morning, Rick showed up at my office with a cardboard box. "Security upgrades," he announced, closing the door behind him. "GPS tracker, check. Motion-activated cameras, check. Audio recording devices, check. And my personal favorite. He pulled out a small black device. Wi-Fi Network Analyzer. This baby can tell you every device that's ever connected to your home network, including when and for how long. Is this legal? It's your house, your network, your wife. As long as you're not recording private conversations without consent or stalking anyone off your property, you're in the clear. I held up the audio recorder. What about this? Gray area. But if she's planning to poison you, I'd say you've got a self-defense argument. The poisoning comment had been eating at me for days. During my weekend surveillance, I'd overheard another phone conversation where Delia mentioned adding something extra to his food and laughing about how I'd been complaining of stomach issues lately. I thought back to the past few weeks. I had been feeling sick after dinner several times, chalking it up to stress or getting older. Now I wondered if my wife was literally trying to make me sick. I need to know what she's putting in my food. Easy enough. Stop eating anything she prepares. Tell her you're on a diet or something. And then what? Rick leaned back in his chair. Then we gather evidence, document everything, and you decide how far you want to take this. Divorce court, criminal charges, or... He grinned. My personal favorite, creative justice. What do you mean? Matt, you're thinking like a victim. Start thinking like a predator. These people are playing games with your life, your marriage, your health. Maybe it's time to play back. That afternoon, I installed Rick's security upgrades throughout the house. Cameras in every room except the bathroom and bedroom. I wasn't interested in violating anyone's actual privacy, just catching lies. Audio recorders in the kitchen and living room. The Wi-Fi analyzer revealed something interesting. Cole Barrett's phone had been connecting to our network regularly for the past 3 months, always during times when I was at work. He'd been in my house, in my bed, probably, using my Wi-Fi to upload God knows what to his social media accounts. The rage that hit me was pure and clean, like nothing I'd ever experienced. I'd been playing defense my entire marriage, trying to be the good husband, the provider, the steady one. While my wife and her lover had been playing offense, taking what they wanted and laughing about it. Time to change the game. I started with Cole's car. Tuesday night, while he and Delia were inside his house doing whatever cheating spouses do, I took a little walk around his precious BMW. The GPS tracker went under the rear bumper. A small puncture in each tire, not enough to cause a blowout, but enough to create a slow leak that would leave him stranded at an inconvenient time. For the interior, I had something special planned. Rick had provided me with a bottle of liquid ass, a prank spray that smelled like a combination of rotten eggs, dead fish, and sewage. A few drops on the air vents, and Cole's luxury car would become a mobile gas chamber. The pièce de résistance was a small Bluetooth speaker, magnetically attached under the driver's seat. Connected to an app on my phone, it would allow me to play sounds through his car's audio system at random times. I'd downloaded a collection of crying baby sounds, nails on chalkboard, and my personal favorite, a recording of Delia's voice saying, "I love you, Matt," from our wedding video. Wednesday morning, Cole's day started badly. According to the GPS tracker, his car had broken down in his driveway. Through social media, Madison Torres was helpfully documenting everything. I watched the drama unfold. Cole, standing next to his BMW with 2 flat tires, calling AAA and cursing. The tow truck arriving, the driver refusing to get in the car because of the smell. Cole having to ride in the tow truck while his prized possession was hauled away like garbage. Delia texted me at work. "Having car trouble today. Might be late getting home." I texted back, "Sorry to hear that. Need me to pick you up?" "No thanks. Kara will give me a ride." Kara Hendricks, Delia's business partner and best friend. Another piece of the puzzle clicked into place. I looked up Kara's social media, scrolling through months of posts. There, a photo from 3 weeks ago, Delia, Kara, Cole, and Madison at some upscale restaurant downtown. The caption read, "Girls' night out with our favorite realtor." Girls' night. With Cole. The lies were so elaborate, so coordinated, that I almost had to admire the effort. Almost. That evening, I confronted Delia with surgical precision. "How was your day, honey?" "Oh, same old stuff at the studio. Kara had to leave early for some family thing, so I had to handle the evening classes alone." I nodded sympathetically. "That's rough. Good thing you didn't have car trouble on top of everything else." She froze for just a second, then recovered. "Right, lucky me." Speaking of cars, I saw the weirdest thing today. Cole Barrett, that real estate guy with the billboards? His BMW broke down right in front of the coffee shop on Main Street. Poor guy looked like he was about to cry. Delia's face went pale. Oh, that's unfortunate. Yeah, and the smell coming from that car, like something died in there. The tow truck driver could barely stand to be near it. Weird. Her voice was barely a whisper. I smiled, taking a bite of the salad I'd prepared for myself. Very weird. Almost like someone played a prank on him. But who would do something like that in a nice town like ours? Delia excused herself early, claiming a headache. I heard her on the phone in the bathroom again, whispering urgently. This time, I was ready with the audio recorder app on my phone. Mo definitely knows something. No, he's not usually like this. I don't know. Maybe we should cool it for a while. The voice on the other end was male, angry. Cole. Not backing down now. Worked too hard for this. If he becomes a problem, we'll handle it. Handle it. The casual way he said it made my blood run cold. These people weren't just cheating. They were planning something bigger. Something that involved handling me if I got in their way. I'd been thinking of this as a marriage problem. Now I realized it was something much more dangerous. Thursday morning, I called Rick. We need to meet. Now. What's wrong? I think they're planning to get rid of me. Rick and I met at Murphy's Tavern, the kind of dive bar where locals went to disappear for a few hours. Dark wood, dim lights, and a bartender who minded his own business. Perfect for planning what Rick cheerfully called Operation Payback. Play the recording again, Rick said, nursing his second beer. I replayed Cole's voice. If he becomes a problem, we'll handle it. Son of a bitch. Rick shook his head. This isn't just an affair anymore, Matt. This is conspiracy. Conspiracy to do what? Think about it. Cole's got a pattern of targeting married men with assets. Your house is worth what? $400,000? Plus your life insurance, retirement account, savings. If something happened to you, the implications hit me like a punch to the gut. Delia inherits everything. And splits it with her boyfriend. Classic Black Widow setup, except they're too smart to actually kill you. They'll just make your life so miserable you'll either leave town or have a convenient accident. I thought about the stomach issues, the jokes about poisoning my food, the casual way Cole talked about handling problems. What do I do? Rick grinned, and for a moment I could see the ex-cop in him, the guy who'd spent 20 years dealing with scumbags and learning their tricks. We make them regret ever messing with Matt Sullivan. The plan Rick outlined was beautiful in its simplicity. Instead of playing defense, we'd go on the attack. Psychological warfare designed to make them paranoid, suspicious of each other, and ultimately self-destructive. First rule, Rick explained, never do anything illegal. We're not criminals, we're artists. Second rule, always stay one step ahead. They think they're playing chess while you're playing checkers. Time to show them you've been playing poker this whole time. We started with Cole's business. Rick had connections at the city planning office, and it turned out Cole had been cutting corners on several development projects. Nothing criminal, but definitely worth reporting to the state licensing board. Anonymous tip, Rick said, sliding the paperwork across the table. Someone's concerned about building code violations at the Riverside Commons project. Might trigger an investigation. Will that actually hurt him? Investigations take time. Time costs money. Money problems cause stress. Stress makes people make mistakes. Rick raised his beer in a toast. To making our enemies make mistakes. The next phase targeted Delia's social media empire. Madison Torres had been carefully crafting Delia's online image as the perfect wellness guru and devoted wife. Inspirational quotes, workout videos, loving photos of our apparently happy marriage. All bullshit, but effective bullshit that brought clients to the studio. Rick's plan was elegant. Instead of trying to expose the lies directly, we'd let Delia expose herself. Social media narcissists can't help themselves, he explained. They have to document everything, share everything, prove to the world how amazing their lives are. All we have to do is create situations where her real personality shows through. We started small. I began documenting every lie, every inconsistency, every moment where Delia's public image didn't match reality. The app on her phone that tracked her location versus where she claimed to be. Screenshots of her Venmo payments to Madison for story coordination. Photos of her car at Cole's house during times when she was supposedly at the studio. But the real genius was Rick's idea to use their own social media against them. Friday night, Delia announced she was going to another book club meeting. I wished her luck and settled in to watch the show. The GPS tracker showed her heading to Cole's house as expected, but this time, I was ready with a special surprise. Remember that Bluetooth speaker I'd hidden in Cole's car? I'd installed a similar device in his house during one of their afternoon sessions, attached to the underside of his outdoor sound system. At precisely 11 p.m., when I knew they'd be getting cozy, I activated the speaker and played a recording I'd made earlier that day. Delia Sullivan, this is Detective Morrison with the Maine State Police. We need to speak with you regarding an ongoing investigation. Please call us at your earliest convenience. I watched through Cole's security cameras. He'd never bothered to change the default password, as chaos erupted inside the house. Delia panicking, Cole trying to figure out where the voice was coming from, both of them convinced the police were onto them. They spent the next hour searching Cole's house for hidden microphones, accusing each other of being careless and generally losing their minds. It was better than cable television. But the real payoff came the next morning, when Madison posted a series of Instagram stories that were supposed to provide Delia's alibi for the previous evening. Photos of Delia at book club, with timestamps that didn't match the GPS data. A check-in at a restaurant where Delia had never been, posted from Cole's house. The inconsistencies were obvious to anyone paying attention, and thanks to Rick's network of local gossips, people were definitely paying attention. Word's getting around, Rick reported Monday morning. Couple of the ladies at the bank were talking about how Delia's been acting strange lately, and Cole's business problems are starting to spread. 2 clients canceled projects this week. Good. But I want to turn up the heat. Patience, Grasshopper. This is a marathon, not a sprint. We're building toward something bigger. That something bigger started taking shape Tuesday afternoon, when Delia came home from the studio visibly upset. Bad day? I asked, looking up from my laptop where I'd been pretending to work on insurance claims. Just some drama with clients. People spreading rumors, you know how this town is. What kind of rumors? She hesitated, clearly debating how much to tell me. Someone's been saying I'm having an affair. Can you believe that? I managed to look shocked. That's terrible. Who would say something like that? I don't know, but it's affecting the business. 3 clients canceled their memberships today. I'm sorry, honey. Is there anything I can do to help? The look she gave me was calculating, suspicious. For a moment, I thought she might actually confess, come clean about everything. Instead, she forced a smile. No, it's fine. Just small-town gossip. It'll blow over. But it wouldn't blow over because Rick and I weren't going to let it. We'd planted the seeds, and now we were going to water them until they grew into something that would choke the life out of Delia's carefully constructed lies. Wednesday night, I followed Delia to Cole's house again. This time, instead of electronic pranks, I decided on something more direct. I waited until they were both inside, then walked up to Cole's front door and knocked. Cole answered, shirtless and clearly annoyed at being interrupted. His expression changed to confusion when he saw me. Matt? What are you doing here? Hi, Cole. Sorry to bother you so late. I was driving by and saw my wife's car in your driveway. Is everything okay? The silence stretched between us like a taut wire. Behind Cole, I could hear movement, whispered voices. Delia, probably hiding in the bedroom. Your wife's car? Cole tried to look confused, but sweat was beading on his forehead. I don't think... Silver Lexus, license plate 472BDF. It's right there in your driveway. I pointed helpfully. Next to your BMW. Well, your replacement BMW. I heard about what happened to the other one. Terrible smell from what I understand. Cole's face went pale. Look, Matt, I think there might be some misunderstanding. Oh, I don't think so. I smiled, the same pleasant smile I used with difficult insurance claimants. See, I've been tracking my wife's movements for the past few weeks. Fascinating stuff. Did you know she's been here 17 times in the last month? Always during her supposed book club meetings or yoga classes? You need to leave. Cole's voice was shaky now. In a minute. First, I want you to give Delia a message for me. I leaned closer, dropping my voice to a whisper. Tell her I know about the poisoning. Tell her I know about Madison and the fake alibis. Tell her I know about the money transfers and the hotel rooms and every single lie she's told me for the past 4 months. Cole tried to close the door, but I put my foot in the way. And Cole? Tell her I'm not the soft, stupid husband you both think I am. I'm an insurance investigator. I find the truth for a living. And the truth is, You two picked the wrong man to mess with. I stepped back, letting the door slam shut. Through the window, I could see Cole on his phone, probably calling Delia out of hiding. Good. Let them panic. Let them wonder what I knew and what I was planning, because the real show was just getting started. The next morning, Delia was gone before I woke up. No note, no text, just an empty space in the bed and the lingering smell of her expensive perfume. I checked the GPS tracker. Her car was at the studio, but according to the schedule on her website, she didn't have classes until afternoon. Emergency meeting, I guessed. Time to figure out how much damage my little visit to Cole had caused. I called in sick to work again and drove to the studio. Through the window, I could see Delia, Cole, Madison, and Kara huddled around a table in the back office. Their body language screamed crisis mode, hands gesturing wildly, faces tight with stress. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but I didn't need to. The GPS tracker on Cole's replacement BMW had led me to Madison's apartment at 6 a.m., then to a lawyer's office downtown, then to the studio. They were in full damage control mode. My phone buzzed with a text from Delia. "Working late tonight? Don't wait up." I texted back, "No problem. Having dinner with Rick anyway." Which was true. Rick and I had reservations at the same upscale restaurant where Cole and Delia had been having their romantic dinners. Time for the next phase of Operation Payback. Murphy's Tavern was packed that evening, the usual crowd of locals unwinding after work. Rick and I claimed our usual table in the back corner, where we could see everything but not be easily overheard. "So, what's the plan?" Rick asked, sliding a beer across the table. "Simple. I'm going to tell everyone the truth. Matt, we talked about this. Going public too early gives them time to cover their tracks, create counter-narratives." "No." I pulled out my phone, showing him the recording app. "I'm not going public with accusations. I'm going public with evidence." Over the past week, I'd compiled a digital dossier that would make the FBI proud. Audio recordings of Delia's lies, GPS data showing her real locations, financial records proving the affair, screenshots of social media posts that contradicted her alibis. Everything time-stamped, cross-referenced, and legally obtained. "Rick, these people have been treating me like I'm stupid for months. They've been poisoning my food, stealing my money, using my house for their affair, and planning God knows what if I became inconvenient. I'm done being subtle." Rick studied my face, then nodded slowly. "All right, but we do this smart. No emotional outbursts, no dramatic confrontations. We present the facts and let the evidence speak for itself." "Agreed. But first, I want to give them one last chance to come clean." I texted Delia. "We need to talk, all of us. Tomorrow night, 7 p.m. our house. Bring Cole." Her response came back immediately. "What's this about?" "You know what it's about." Friday evening, I prepared our house like a stage set. Cameras recording from multiple angles, audio equipment capturing every word. Rick stationed himself in the kitchen, officially there to help with drinks, but actually serving as backup in case things got physical. At exactly 7 p.m., Delia arrived with Cole, Madison, and surprisingly, Kara. A united front, all dressed like they were heading to a business meeting rather than a confrontation with a betrayed husband. "Matt," Delia began, her voice artificially calm, "I think there's been some misunderstanding." "Sit down." I gestured to the living room, where I'd arranged chairs in a semicircle facing the couch where I sat. "All of you." Cole looked like he wanted to bolt, but Madison whispered something in his ear that made him stay. Interesting. Was Madison the real mastermind here? "I know about the affair," I said without preamble. "I know about the poisoning attempts. I know about the financial manipulation, the fake alibis, the plans to handle me if I became a problem. What I don't know is why." Silence. Then Delia tried her manipulation tactics one more time. "Honey, I think you're having some kind of breakdown. Maybe we should call Dr. Peterson." I held up my phone, playing the recording of her voice. "I've been poisoning his food. Small doses." Delia's face went white. Madison cursed under her breath. Cole looked around the room like he was calculating escape routes. "That was taken out of context," Delia said quickly. "I was joking with my mother about your complaints about my cooking." "Really?" I played another recording, this one of Cole's voice. "If he becomes a problem, we'll handle it." "Now that," I continued, "doesn't sound like a joke to me. That sounds like a threat." Cole finally found his voice. "Look, Matt, this has gotten out of hand. Maybe we should all just calm down and—" Calm down? I stood up, and Rick moved closer from the kitchen. You've been screwing my wife in my house, stealing my money, poisoning my food, and planning to handle me like some kind of mob problem, and you want me to calm down? It's not what you think, Madison interjected, speaking for the first time. This whole thing started innocently. Innocently? I laughed, a sound with no humor in it. Madison, I have records of every payment Delia made to you for story coordination. I have screenshots of every fake alibi you created, every lie you helped maintain. There's nothing innocent about a criminal conspiracy. That got their attention. The word criminal hung in the air like a threat. You can't prove anything, Kara said, but her voice lacked conviction. I pulled out a thick folder and dropped it on the coffee table. GPS tracking data, financial records, audio recordings, video surveillance, social media archives, phone records. I can prove everything. I opened the folder, spreading documents across the table like a poker player revealing a winning hand. Delia, here's proof you've been at Cole's house 17 times in the past month, always during times when you claim to be elsewhere. Here's your Venmo payments to Madison, with messages about providing alibis. Here's Cole's phone connecting to our home Wi-Fi network during times when I was at work. Cole's face was red now, anger replacing fear. You had no right to spy on us. Actually, I had every right. It's my house, my network, my wife, and my marriage. What I didn't have was the right to be lied to, cheated on, and poisoned in my own home. The poisoning thing is ridiculous, Delia said, but she wouldn't meet my eyes. Is it? Rick, tell them what you found. Rick stepped forward, pulling out a small plastic bag containing a white powder. Had your wife's special seasoning blend analyzed at the lab. Turns out it contains ipecac syrup, the stuff they use to induce vomiting. Small doses over time would cause nausea, stomach pain, general misery. Not enough to kill, just enough to make someone sick and miserable. The room went dead silent. So here's what's going to happen, I continued, my voice steady despite the rage burning in my chest. You're all going to leave my house right now, Delia. You're going to pack your things and find somewhere else to stay. Cole, you're going to stay away from my wife, my house, and me, or I'm filing harassment charges. Madison, you're going to stop creating fake alibis and social media lies, or I'm reporting you for conspiracy and fraud. And if we don't? Cole asked, trying to sound tough. I smiled, the same pleasant smile I'd used on his doorstep. Then I release all of this evidence to the police, the state licensing board, the local newspaper, and every social media platform in town. Your business will be ruined, your reputation destroyed, and your legal problems will just be beginning. Madison stood up abruptly. This is insane. We're leaving. Good choice. I opened the front door for them. Oh, and one more thing. I've set up a dead man's switch on all the evidence. If anything happens to me, anything at all, everything gets released automatically. So I'd suggest you all find new hobbies that don't involve Matt Sullivan. They filed out like defeated soldiers, Delia laughed. She paused at the door, looking back at me with something that might have been regret. Matt, I never meant for it to go this far. Yes, you did. You just never meant to get caught. After they left, Rick and I sat in the living room, surrounded by the evidence of my wife's betrayal. So what now? Rick asked. Now we wait and see if they're smart enough to walk away or stupid enough to escalate. The answer came sooner than expected. Saturday morning brought a knock on my door at 6 a.m., 2 Maine State Police detectives, badges out, expressions serious. Mr. Sullivan? We'd like to ask you some questions about allegations of stalking and harassment. I invited them in, offering coffee while Rick, who'd spent the night on my couch as a precaution, listened from the kitchen. Someone filed a complaint, Detective Morrison explained, claiming you've been following them, threatening them, and engaging in what they called psychological warfare. Someone? I asked, though I knew exactly who. Cole Barrett and your wife, Delia Sullivan. They say you've been tracking their movements, vandalizing Mr. Barrett's property, and making threats. I nodded calmly. Would you like to see the evidence of why I was tracking my wife's movements? For the next hour, I walked the detectives through everything. The affair, the poisoning, the financial manipulation, the threats. I showed them the GPS data, played the audio recordings, demonstrated how Cole's phone had been connecting to my Wi-Fi network. This is quite a collection, Detective Morrison said, reviewing the documents. You're sure all of this was obtained legally? Everything from my own property, my own accounts, or public records. I never trespassed, never broke any laws. Detective Chen, Morrison's partner, looked up from the financial records. Mr. Sullivan, did you puncture Mr. Barrett's tires or introduce any foreign substances into his vehicle? I smiled. Detective, I'm an insurance investigator. I know the difference between vandalism and mechanical failure. If Mr. Barrett's tires developed leaks, perhaps he should check his driving habits or the quality of roads he's been using. They exchanged glances. Morrison closed his notebook. Mr. Sullivan, we're going to recommend that all parties involved stay away from each other while we review this evidence. That includes you. Understood. Though I should mention, I've already told them to stay away from me and my property. After the police left, Rick poured us both coffee and sat down at the kitchen table. They're getting desperate, he said. Calling the cops was a mistake. Now there's an official record of everything. Good. Let them dig their own graves. But I underestimated how desperate they really were. Sunday afternoon, I was working in my yard when Madison Torres pulled into my driveway. She got out of her car slowly, hands visible, clearly trying not to appear threatening. Matt, can we talk? Talk fast. I have things to do. Look, this whole thing has gotten out of control. Delia's talking about hiring a lawyer, maybe filing for divorce and claiming abuse. Cole's business is falling apart. 3 more clients canceled this week. Everyone's panicking. Sounds like consequences. Madison stepped closer. What if I told you there was more to this than just an affair? That got my attention. More how? Cole's been running this same game on other couples. Delia wasn't his first target, and she wasn't supposed to be his last. There's a whole system. Identify wealthy married couples, seduce the wife, manipulate the situation until the husband either leaves town or has an accident, then split the assets. My blood went cold. How many couples? At least 3 that I know of. The Hendersons moved to Florida last year after their marriage fell apart, but not before Cole bought their house for half its value. The Pratts got divorced, and somehow Cole ended up with the contract to sell all their properties. And the Williamses. She trailed off, but I knew the Williamses. Tom Williams had died in a car accident 6 months ago, and his widow Sarah had sold their house to Cole's company for a fraction of its market value. You're saying Tom Williams was murdered? I'm saying Tom Williams was driving a car that had been serviced at Cole's brother's garage the day before his accident. And Sarah Williams was having an affair with Cole for 3 months before her husband died. The implications hit me like a physical blow. This wasn't just adultery, it was organized crime. And I'd stumbled into the middle of it. Why are you telling me this? Madison looked around nervously. Because I think you're next. Delia's been asking questions about your life insurance policy, your will, your daily routines. And Cole's been talking about permanent solutions to the Matt Sullivan problem. What do you want from me? Help me get out of this. I have evidence, financial records, communications, proof of the other victims. But I need protection. I studied her face, looking for signs of deception. Madison Torres was a social media manipulator by profession, skilled at creating false narratives. But the fear in her eyes looked genuine. What kind of evidence? She pulled out a flash drive. Everything. Bank records showing Cole's profits from the previous schemes. Text messages between him and Delia planning your accident. Communications with his brother about car maintenance. Even some recordings I made as insurance in case Cole ever turned on me. I took the flash drive. Why should I trust you? Because if they eliminate you, I'm the only witness left who knows about the other victims. How long do you think I'd last? That evening, Rick and I reviewed Madison's evidence. It was damning. A clear pattern of targeting wealthy couples, manipulating the wives, and either driving the husbands away or arranging their deaths. Cole Barrett wasn't just a serial adulterer, he was a serial killer. We have to take this to the FBI, Rick said. This is way beyond local police. Agreed. But first I want to confront them one more time. Get them on record, maybe force them into making a mistake. Matt, that's dangerous. If they're willing to kill, they won't try anything with witnesses around. And I have an idea. Monday evening, I sent a group text to Delia, Cole, and Kara. Emergency meeting. Murphy's Tavern, 8 p.m. Come alone, or the evidence goes public tomorrow. Murphy's was perfect for my plan. Crowded enough to provide safety, but with quiet corners where we could talk privately. I arrived early, claiming a table in the back, where Rick's security cameras had a clear view. Delia arrived first, looking haggard. The stress was showing. Dark circles under her eyes. Her usually perfect hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. Cole came in 5 minutes later, scanning the room like he expected an ambush. "Where's Kara?" I asked. "She's done with this," Delia said. "She wants out." "Smart woman. You two should follow her example." Cole leaned forward aggressively. "Look, Sullivan, this has gone far enough. You've made your point. What's it going to take for you to back off?" "The truth." "What truth?" I pulled out my phone, placing it on the table between us. The recording app was already running. "The truth about Tom Williams, the truth about the Hendersons and the Pratts, the truth about your little business of seducing married women and stealing their husbands' assets." The color drained from both their faces. "I don't know what you're talking about," Cole said, but his voice was shaky. "Really?" "Because Madison Torres has been very helpful. Bank records, text messages, recordings. She's quite the documenter, our Madison." Delia's eyes widened. "Madison wouldn't what? Wouldn't save her own skin when she realized you were planning to kill me?" The word kill hung in the air like a bomb. "Nobody's planning to kill anyone," Cole said quickly. Too quickly. "No? Then what did you mean when you told Delia that permanent solutions might be necessary? What did you mean when you asked about my life insurance policy? What did you mean when you had your brother look at my car last week?" Cole stood up abruptly. "I don't have to listen to this." "Yes, you do. Because if you leave this table, I make a phone call, and by tomorrow morning, every piece of evidence I have goes to the FBI, the state police, and the local media. Your choice." He sat back down. "Here's what's going to happen," I continued. "You're going to confess. All of it. The affairs, the financial manipulation, the previous victims, the plans for me. You're going to do it on record, right here, right now." "And if we don't?" Delia asked. "Then you go to prison for conspiracy to commit murder, and Cole goes to prison for actually committing it." The silence stretched between us. Around the bar, normal people were having normal conversations, oblivious to the life and death negotiation happening at our table. Finally, Cole spoke. "What do you want?" "I want you to disappear. Leave town, leave the state, leave my life. I want full confessions to everything, recorded and witnessed, and I want every penny you've stolen from your victims returned to their families." "That's impossible." "Then enjoy prison." Delia reached across the table, grabbing my hand. "Matt, please. We can work this out. We can go back to the way things were." I pulled my hand away. "Delia, you tried to poison me. You helped plan my murder. There's no going back from that." "It wasn't supposed to be murder," she said, tears starting to flow. "Just an accident. To make it look like an accident." Cole shot her a warning look, but it was too late. She just confessed to conspiracy to commit murder, on record, in front of witnesses. "Thank you," I said, stopping the recording. That's all I needed. I stood up, leaving them sitting at the table in stunned silence. As I walked toward the exit, I heard Cole curse and Delia start to sob. Outside, Rick was waiting by his truck. "Get it all?" "Every word. FBI's gonna love this." "What now?" I looked back at Murphy's Tavern, where my wife and her lover were probably planning their next move. But it didn't matter what they planned. The game was over, and I'd won. Now we watched them destroy themselves. Tuesday morning, FBI agents arrested Cole Barrett at his office on charges of conspiracy to commit murder, insurance fraud, and racketeering. Delia was arrested at the Pilates studio, led away in handcuffs while her clients watched in shock. The local newspaper ran the story on the front page. Local real estate broker arrested in murder-for-profit scheme. The details were devastating. Multiple victims, systematic targeting of wealthy couples, at least one confirmed murder. By evening, the story had gone viral on social media. Madison Torres, now in witness protection, had released additional evidence showing the scope of Cole's operation. It wasn't just a local crime, it was part of a network spanning multiple states. I sat in my living room, finally alone in my house for the first time in months, watching the news coverage on television. My phone had been ringing all day, reporters, lawyers, insurance investigators wanting to interview me about how I'd uncovered the conspiracy. But I wasn't ready to talk to anyone yet. I was still processing the fact that my marriage hadn't just ended. It had been a setup from the beginning. Delia had targeted me specifically because of my assets, my insurance policy, my predictable routines. The woman I'd loved for 12 years had been planning to kill me. Rick knocked on my door around 9 p.m., carrying a six-pack of beer and a grim smile. "Thought you might need some company." We sat on my back porch, drinking beer and watching the sunset over the Maine woods. For the first time in months, I felt peaceful. "So what's next?" Rick asked. "Divorce proceedings? Testimony at their trials? Probably therapy." I took a long drink of beer. "But first, I'm thinking about taking a vacation. Somewhere warm, where nobody's trying to poison my food or steal my assets." "Sounds like a plan." We sat in comfortable silence, two friends who'd survived something that should have destroyed us. In the distance, I could hear sirens, probably more arrests as the FBI rounded up the rest of Cole's network. "Rick? Yeah? Thanks for having my back." That's what friends do. As the stars came out over Maine, I realized that Cole and Delia had made one critical mistake in their planning. They'd assumed I was weak, passive, someone who could be manipulated and ultimately eliminated without consequence. They'd forgotten that insurance investigators spend their careers uncovering the truth, no matter how well it's hidden. They'd forgotten that even the quietest people can be dangerous when pushed too far. Most importantly, they'd forgotten that in small towns like ours, everybody knows everybody, and when you hurt one of us, you hurt all of us. The local paper would later call it the underdog's reckoning, how a mild-mannered insurance adjuster brought down a multi-state murder conspiracy. But I knew the truth was simpler than that. I wasn't an underdog. I was just a man who'd been pushed too far, with friends who had his back and skills they'd underestimated. And sometimes, that's all it takes to win,